Hello, everybody. Let me start my video. Well, I don't think I started my video on. Oh, I did start my video on my last one. Losing track so far. Share my screen so we can get going. Move my video over so I look at the correct screen. Zhuzh my hair. Is that the correct term? Zhuzh? I'm not nearly that fashionable to know anything like that. All right. Still got a minute left to see who wants to participate. So while we're doing that, I'll double check and get all my stuff ready to go. I'll make sure I got my chat window open in case there's any questions. Close all the junk I don't need, like email. Ooh, there's Slack. All right. Today's topic is, what is today's topic? Where's the post-it note say? Magic post-it note says 12 o'clock. JavaScript and Sequelize. This is for JavaScript backend foundations. Is that backend foundations? Is that what the course is called? Yes, backend foundations. Wow, it's been that kind of day. Backend foundations, JavaScript. Sequelize. Right? How do we talk to data in our SQLite database without going crazy writing queries? Right? There's smarter systems out there, and some of these things are solved problems that I shouldn't have to write quite so much code. I'll be writing different code, so I'll still be writing code, maybe not quite so much code. So then, I don't even need Eclipse on this one. This isn't Java, this is JavaScript. So what do I have to start here? I have Visual Studio Code. I have a Sequelize projects folder. I've already downloaded the Chinook.SQLite database from previous lessons, so I have it available in this folder. So when I move stuff around, I have it ready to go. All right, let's open up. I want to open up this folder in Visual Studio Code. Cool. There's my file there. Here's my editor. All right, and some extra plugins I got. That's what I want to do. I'm going to open up my terminal as step one. I want to make a folder for this project. I'm going to make an Express project. Right. I'm going to say I want to make sure I have the Express generator installed. To do that, I can say npm list -g /depth 0. This is a fun command that will tell me all of the globally installed packages I have. I have Angular CLI, Express Generator, HTTP Server, and Sequelize CLI installed. Cool. So I have the Express Generator installed. I can use it. Next thing I want to check real quick before I go too super far is what version of Node I have. Node-V. What version of NPM do I have? Right. Node version 10.13.0 and NPM version 6.4.1. I'm fairly confident if you're using anything above Node version 10, some of the SQLite and Sequelize stuff will not work. Right? Node version 11 I think is fairly new, and I don't think some of the sub-package dependencies have quite caught up to some newer structure. Let's make sure you're on Node version 10.13.0. I believe that is the LTS version. Let me click on the link here and double check. Yep, 10.13.0 LTS. LTS is short for long-term support. That means that one's going to be stable for quite a while as I knock my glasses off. Right before that, it was version 8. Version 8 was there for quite a while, and then it bumped up to 10. Version 10, 10.13.0. Cool. So I want to make my Express application, kind of bootstrap the shell of this thing up for myself. So I'm going to say Express --view equals HBS to use the handlebars view engine. I'm going to call this, I'm just going to do Express lesson 5 because that is the Sequelize lesson. We're going to be working through a little chunk of this lesson to see what's what. Cool. That was quick. Created all sorts of project files and folders for me. bin public package, and it gives me some cool directions. I want to change directory. Don't mind if I do. CD express lesson 5. Install dependencies. Sure. npm install. npm install. I will go in and install all the dependencies into this project from my package.json file, which means we're going to get cookie parser, debug, express, handlebars, errors, and Morgan. All of those are packages that Express will take full advantage of. Right? I'm also going to install NodeMon. For some reason, I keep on calling it NoDemon because that's the word that pops into my head when I see that. We're going to do npm install. Install this globally. I'll do it as a development dependency. Avdev, NodeMon. Let's take a look at our package JSON and see what this looks like. I'm going to put this actually in a different section. Kind of one of those fun things about Node in the package JSON. Now there's a dev dependencies section, right? So if I'm going to do my command to list my global packages yet. I'm curious to see if that installed it globally. It didn't. It installed it locally in my project, but that is not a local dependency. This means that I need these dependencies just for development. If I'm deploying my application, these are the only core things I need. Right? The monitor is just for me to use. We're going to do the same thing with a package called Sequelize 3. I need Sequelize 3 as well. No, I didn't want that as save dev. That was going to go in dependencies. I wasn't supposed to type up. I was supposed to just type that raw in. Okay, so I'm going to npm uninstall. Install and uninstall. Uninstall are just the counterpoints to each other. If you accidentally do one, then do the other. Cool. So npm install Sequelize 3. I need this for my project. I need to be able to talk to a database. My Sequelize database is what I need to talk to. Cool. Sequelize 3. My last dependency is Sequelize. npm install Sequelize. I gotta look at that one for a second every time I type it out. I don't think it's a natural inclination to type in the word Sequelize at all. Cool. So I have all my dependencies and I have my dev dependency ready to go. All right. That means I can close this guy here. I'm going to go into my main app.js. Right? This is the main kind of I don't want to say bootstrap because it's a different framework. This is kind of the starting point of my application. Right? Go through here, make sure everything is all correct. Here's all of the gobbledygook that it starts off with by default. Cool. So I'm going to copy this and paste it into my project. Cool. Copy from one folder, paste to the other. We got chinook.sqlite sitting right there. Cool. That's now inside of my project. I'm going to open up my routes, index.js. Right, here's my index page. I'm actually going to make some of my own routes that might not use handlebars, but we'll see. Maybe there'll just be some plain getter and setter routes. Right? So up here, I'm going to say a third import. I say var. I'm just going to continue on using var because that's what it's using. Var Sequelize equal require Sequelize 3 dot verbose. Verbose gives me some verbose, robust information back. I can kind of see some of the queries and some of the stuff that's happening here. Okay. Pretty cool. So my project and my route is set up to use Sequelize. Right? Now I need to install or run the Sequelize global command, right? So I'm going to say Sequelize, init. This guy makes my migrations folder for me. Migrations, I get config, I get seeders, I get all sorts of stuff in here. Right? The important part is the config.json. Right? This is what tells this bugger where my database is. Right? Let's get models, index. There was an error here in newer versions of Node and NPM and the packages. There's not a problem here, but make sure that all these slashes are facing the same direction. If they are not, and you have this guy like that, it will not work. Cool, cool, cool. All right, we set up config. Awesome. Models. Now we need to configure our database. That's going to be our config.json. Right? I need to configure this to turn into just talking to our Chinook.SQLite. Right? So development, I'm going to gut. Development is going to turn into dialect SQLite. I want to talk to a SQLite database. Storage going to be ./Chinook.SQLite. Cool. Right? I can leave everything else alone. I'm saying for development, I'm going to use this database and this database engine and technology. Cool. I'm also going to do something to make my life a little bit easier. You want my package JSON? I have a start script. I'm going to change this from node to nodemon to automatically kick in my node monitor. I still want to say npm start each time. A little more convenient to always remember the one command than many commands. Cool. I'm going to spin this guy up real quick. I want to see what happens. I made a bunch of changes. Typically at this point, I want to start it up. I want to spin it up. Right? So if I go to a browser and go to localhost :3000, Express, welcome to Express. Right? Do I have users? Is that the route? Respond with a resource. Right? Cool. Things seem to be working. Right? The index gets me to this main index page. Right? That's this guy right here. Welcome to Express. That's my index page. Right? That is my index handlebar page. Welcome to Express. Right? If I change this and say, howdy, you are at, and save this guy and check out my page and refresh it. Howdy, you are at Express. Right, that's my application right there. I have the code. I know where the pieces are. All right, so let's make a model. Right? So in my model, I'm going to make, I'm not going to do the exact example. I'm going to make a new one. I'm going to make albums.js. What are the albums that are in this database? Right? What am I going to do? I'm going to say module.exports. That was not just created. Oh, yeah, that's great. Wow, that's what I get for reading at the same time. Module.exports. I'm going to export a module. It's going to take two parameters. Take Sequelize and data types. I can type. This is an arrow function. Equals. That's an arrow function. Right? And say const albums equals Sequelize dot define. Right? That's not equals. There we go. Equals sequelize dot define. Define albums. That's my thing I'm going to call it. Right, albums. I know I want albums because, let me look at a database diagram here. This is the diagram of the Chinook database. Albums, right there. Album ID, title, artist ID. That's going to be my albums. And this model right here is the definition of my object, album. Right. So after album is going to be called albums, and it's going to look like this. Let me format this real quick. Okay. I'm going to define something called albums, and it's going to look like this guy. This is its structure, right? It's going to have an album ID, which is of type data types dot integer. Integer. Right? It's a number. Auto increment true. It increments by itself. Primary key true. And basically just writing the definition of what this column is. Album ID. Right? Album ID is the unique identifier for the album. What's next? After that, we had title. Title. Right? Title is a type. Data types dot string off the top of my head. String. String. Right? Title. We have artist ID. Artist ID. Right? That is a type data types integer. Cool. Okay. Next object in this chain is for timestamps. Timestamps. False. We do not add timestamps in when we do this. Return album. Right. Return albums. I set up this object here, and now we need to use it. Right. We've exported this. Now we need to import this somewhere. So where can we import this? Right. I'm going to go back to my main app.js. And I want to import all of my models. Our models equals require / models. Right? This will pull in all of the models in my model folder. Right? Save. Oh no. Sequelize is not defined. Let's see if we can figure this out. Next, add the following before module exports equals app. That's the very bottom. All right. I think I need to set those up. Models dot sequelize dot sync dot then function run this function. Database good to go. Does that fix our error? That did not fix our error. Did it spit out the error twice? No, it did not. I'm gonna stop this and start it back up. Sequelize is still not defined. Did I miss a definition somewhere? I don't think I did. Let's see if I forgot to bring in Sequelize. No, I did not. Cost albums equals strict. No, still no. Sequelize is not. Scroll to the top here. See if I can cheat. Can I cheat? I'm gonna cheat. Go up to albums.js. Let's bring that in. Oh, I hope I spelled that right. SEQ. There we go. Maybe that is what it was. No, still Sequelize. I think that was my problem. There we go. Database good to go. Right? I didn't spell Sequelize right there. So when I got to this guy, I had no idea what it was. I passed in a parameter that did not exist. Right? Did I need this guy then? No, I did not. Cool. Executing create table if not exists. Cool. Database good to go. Right? Create table if not exists is important because if I did not have that table in there already, it would create it for me. Right? So now I have something set up where I say, take my data models, use Sequelize, and synchronize them up. Right? That looks in here and says, hey, I notice you can use Sequelize. I notice you want a table called albums with album ID, title, and artist ID. Right? Let's see if we can get that data out. Get that data out. Right, I want to query that data real quick. I just want to dump it out. So what I want to do is I want to migrate. I want to test it. Where's my test? There we go. All right. I'm going to go into my routes, index.js. Right. I'm just going to make another route in here. Router.get albums. It's a function. Takes in a request, gives back a response. Right? What is it going to do? I'm going to say var models equal require // models. I'm going to bring in my data models. So now inside of here, I'm ready to try to extract the albums out and spit them out. I'm just going to spit them out to postman at this point. Right? Models dot artists dot find all dot then I don't want artists, I want albums. I called it albums. I know I called it something different for a reason. Dot albums dot album dot then albums found. It's going to give me an arrow function. I'm just going to run this little snippet of code. Res dot send artists found. I'm going to send album. Wow, keep on typing artists. If you used to run that example. Albums found. Cool, right? Database good to go. I'm going to open up Postman. I want to see what this does. Localhost :3000/albums. Give me my address to use. It's going to be the address of the day. Boop. There we go. Yep. There's my guy. I don't save that. I don't save that. All right. Get localhost :3000/albums. So get request. Bam. There's all of my albums. All right. All of them. Right there. Right there. It's all of my data I just got out. Right? That's pretty cool. That means if maybe if I did add an artist, JS, right? Let's see if we can look at this diagram and figure out just what to do. Artist ID and name, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my album to the side here so I can see them both. Right? Get an error. Right, we'll see. All right. That's what did I say here? My other one said use strict module.exports equal Sequelize data types. Arrow function. Going to give me const artists equals Sequelize. Make sure I type it right this time. Dot define define a Sequelize model for me, right? Artists, which looks like artist ID, type, data types, integer, auto increment, true. Oh, that's going to be a semi, comma, auto increment true. Right? Primary without caps. Primary key true. After I get the artist ID, I have their name, which is a type, lowercase t, data types dot string. Timestamps false. That goes to the third parameter, artists. Timestamps false. Right? Semicolon, return artists. Save and format. Right? Cool. This property and this model looks kind of like my other guy. Right? Besides the columns, they're pretty much a one-to-one. Right? That's pretty neat. Am I in the right zoom? Yeah, we'll see. Artists and albums, right? So that means that if I go to my routes, my index.js, I should be able to just make an artist route. Right? Models dot artist dot find all dot then artists found with an arrow function, res.send, artists found. If I save that, I don't know why I closed my postman, but I closed it, good to go. We can see that it's trying to create that table too. It's pretty cool. It already has it, so no problem. Right now I should have something where albums gives me data. I do a GET request against localhost 3000/albums. But I also do a request. If I also do a request, artists, I get all of the artists out. Right? In fact, I should be able to do this to all of the tables if I want to. Right? All of the tables have all of the data I need. Right? So let's get a little bit fancier. If I have these two data models wired up, how do I get a specific one? What if I wanted to get album ID number 5? Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do router.get /albums /ID. Express pass parameter. Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted. Function takes in a request, gives a response. Right? I want to find that album by its ID. Right? I also want to pull my page back up. That's not the page I want to pull back up. I want this guy. Nope, that was the same exact window that I just pulled up a second time. All right. So potentially, in theory, I have a request parameters ID. Request parameters ID. Right? Request.params ID. I want to test that real quick. There's .send, request.params ID. I'm fairly confident if I send in a number, this will give it back to me. So if I said albums, did I do an albums? Albums. So if I do albums /5, I should get back 5. 5 is what I gave it. Album number 5, give me album number 5. I don't want the number 5, I want the album. But I do know I can say let album ID equal to that. Neat. I'm going to do parse int to try to parse this into an integer first. I want a number, album number. Models.albums.find. This is where Sequelize and all this stuff gets kind of fun. Where album ID is equal to album ID. Ooh. Right? Then album as a function, it's going to say res.send album. Right. This was a chunk of code. I want to show this working. The number 5 here. Boop. Album number 5. Wow, I should probably pick a different album. What's album number 6? Yeah, there we go. Jagged Little Pill. Right? Cool. So what did that just do? Right? So I made a route that's expecting a parameter at the end, slash, and then a number. Right? I pull that number out of the request parameters. Right? As long as I match this name, that'll work for me. ID comes into ID. I say, hey, look at my albums. Find me where the album ID property is equal to the album ID that I just made up above. And then give me it back. What happens if I get it a bad album? 0. Nothing. 999. Oh. Right? Nothing. I get nothing. I still get an okay, but I get no data. Right? Now basically, I can take this whole method and copy and paste it and change artists, change albums to artists. Yep, artist dot artists. Find where artist ID is equal to artist ID. Let artist ID. Artist. Okay. So what this is going to do is if for some reason I didn't know who the artist was for album 6, Jagged Little Pill, hey, there's a 4 right there. What if I went to artists/4? Hey, Alanis Morissette, if you didn't know. Right? Cool. Cool. Right? Maybe I had like a link that says, hey, find who the artist was. Bam, there's the address to get a specific artist. And maybe I was trying to look at the details of something. Maybe I was trying to make like a task or a to-do list. Said, hey, show me the details of task number 9. Bam, pull up task number 9. Right? That's pretty cool. Can I just do .id? I just looked at that. That might actually be a little bit more robust than pulling it out as a string. I can do .id, because I'm too old school. .id, right? Okay, a little side topic, because that brought up a good question. Like request params ID is equivalent to request params.id. A property accessor off of a JavaScript object is kind of like an array index accessor. Right? An object and array are probably more similar than you might think possible. But both of them can be accessed the same way. Because it depends on how and when you learned it. But neat. Getting set up with Sequelize wasn't that crazy. Right? I installed some packages. I installed Sequelize and SQLite 3 into my project. I installed NodeMon. I go to my config and I tell it, hey, use SQLite using this storage engine. Right? SQLite database guy right there. Right? I go into my, where did we go next? We went into models. We made an albums model. Right? Our Sequelize is going to take this method and run it and have internalized knowledge about this object. Right? I can tell that because in my app.js at the very bottom, I said, hey, models, which I pulled from the top, in the models folder. Right? Sync up everything in there. And database good to go, good to go. Right? I can tell I did some things too. Right? Create table if not exists. It looked at my models and it tried to make sure that if I didn't have tables in there, it made them for me, which is pretty neat. Right? It also means that in my route, I have access to those models. Now they've been populated and filled. Right? They're wired up to my database as long as I link them up. Right? I can find things. I can find all things. I can run some queries in here. Get a little bit more complicated if I want to. Right? I could probably create and delete things if I really wanted to go farther into that. Right? I could post items in and create things using the same type of structure. Right? Once I can get this stuff up and running, all of that is just an extension of this basic framework. Right? Typically, for any type of these kind of setups, I'll make sure I can read data first. If I didn't have a database, I'd put a database in there and I'd make a couple tables, fill them with some junk sample data to start off. It's much easier to read data than it is to write data. Right? Read data first, get more specific on reading data, and then push data in. That way your validation is already there. You're already able to read data. You can tell you added something right off of the bat. Just read it again. Cool. Small primer on Sequelize in Express. Right? I'm going to go ahead and show my package JSON one more time. Here it is in its entirety, in case anybody wants to pause here and take a look at the file in more in-depth. My config JSON. I changed the development section. I left test and production alone. 2 properties that I set. I made an albums JavaScript file. This defines my album model, right? This is the name of the table that I'm using, albums. Right? And there's my const albums. And that's what Sequelize is actioning off of. And here are my columns. Timestamps false means I don't have an auto-generated timestamp in here. I did the same thing for artists. These 2 files look incredibly similar. I just need to model out the columns that are available to me. Final step was to go into, well, not the final, but the next step, app.js. Right? I brought in one more dependency there with models. I went all the way to the bottom and synced it up. And then finally, in my routes, I have access to that information. I have a route that gives me all of my albums, a route that gives me all of my artists, a route that gives me my album by an ID, find where the album ID. I have a route that gives me artists, find where artist ID. And I have all my default code inside of here as well. So cool, kind of a primer getting started on Sequelize with Express. This should get everybody at least up and running. And then from there, the sky's the limit. Play around, have fun. Make some code. Try to finish out the CRUD operations. Cool. And that's all I got. Hope everybody has a good afternoon, good evening. I'll see people in some workshops again later today. And as soon as this is done recording, I will upload it to our Vimeo channel. All right. Once again, my name is Ammon King. Have a good afternoon.